You are watching 20 Questions With. I'm Victor Reardon. Thank you so much for watching. Before you do anything, hit the bell, like, subscribe, comment. Thank you so much. Lisa, would you like to tell us about yourself?
Sure. I'm Lisa. I'm in my 30s and I have ASPD.
First of all, do you want to start by giving a bit of a background about your upbringing and what your early years were like?
um, I didn't have too much of a childhood. I really kind of had to raise myself. I had a lot of abuse growing up. Um, my mother was very neglectful, very narcissistic, very into herself. My stepfather was a raging alcoholic, um, ex-military. He often acted like a drill sergeant. A lot of times for like punishments and things, he would actually make us stand out in the front yard with a rifle and call out drill calls. Um, Anytime we cleaned the house, it had to be white glove clean. Um, and they were both abusive with one another. Her not so much, but I recall seeing like a lot of fights between them. Um, she was raped in front of me at one point by him. I remember one time that he didn't want to have to deal with her, and so he gave her some type of sleeping pill, and she slept for 3 days, and she had no clue it was the next day. He was also, physically abusive to me. A few examples I can think of is there was one time that my mother had asked me to put a ketchup bottle in the refrigerator. And I was about 8 or 9 at this time, and I was watching Pokemon, and I was waiting for the commercial. And about the time the commercial came on, he went up to go and go to the bathroom. So I got up, ran, put the ketchup bottle up, and sat back down. When he came back out, he didn't see me, like he saw me in the same spot. And so he took his belt off and clear hit me across the back with it. Knocked the breath out of me. And that caused a big blow up fight between them. So that's kind of the dynamic of the family. My brother was the golden child and I was the problem child. I just kind of stayed to myself because he liked to take a lot of his aggression and a lot of his stuff out on me. Not so much my brother.
Why do you think that is?
I think because my brother was a baby when they got together. So he saw my brother as his son, as where I was about 5 when they got together. And I was never a very loving child. He wasn't the first abusive man that she had been with. And it wasn't like the first time that I had seen her get beat. And so for me, I guess even from early childhood, I just kind of withdrew and just kind of kept myself kind of away from everyone. And so, he had his own daughter that was his daughter, and he seemed to very much prefer her. And so I guess, you know,
Now, do you still have contact with either of them or your brother?
not my brother. I tried to have contact with my biological mother, and I say biological mother because I was adopted around 24 years old. um, I tried to keep in contact with her, which was dumb. I was very young at the time, and it was just the same thing.
Just
You went into foster care because something was wrong with you, not you went into foster care because we abused you. Um,
so
so,
she couldn't see the cycle of violence that was constantly
mm-mm,
going around. No, that's
no.
100% fair. Do you think that these were any experiences that led you to later developing ASPD?
Oh yeah, definitely. Definitely. I think that a child's development stage is so important. And that's when your brain is really wiring itself how to see the world. And so my brain basically taught me, you know, don't feel anything, don't get close to anyone.
And you yourself ended up in the same or a similar cycle of violence later on. Is that right?
I did.
And how did
I
you?
did.
Yeah. Sorry. How did you sort of come to realize that you were just repeating the same thing and get away from that?
Well, I swore that if I ever had children, I would never ever put my children through the same thing, and I would never ever choose a man over my child. And it got to the point where my ex was using my child as a pawn and neglecting her. And I just couldn't deal with it. And this is going to sound terrible, but Child Protective Services actually is what helped me get out. They scared the crap out of me, and they were like, "You're fine, but she can't be around him, and if you don't leave, we're gonna take her." And that was the last straw. I left, and I never looked back.
And when did you first become aware of the fact you had ASPD?
Do you mean like when was I diagnosed, or like when did I realize something might be different?
Both, a little bit of both. Was there steps before being diagnosed that you were like, I don't feel like everyone else, sort of, or what was the situation leading up to that?
Definitely. You might have to censor a little bit of this part out, but one of the things that definitely told me I might be a little bit different was that I would see other kids around me so happy and excited, and I couldn't quite understand why they were acting the way that they were. It didn't make sense to me. And then it eventually came to a point where I was like, why don't I experience that? Which I do feel emotion. They're just very dulled down. They're not, full throttle emotion. But there were also some things that I did that a therapist had to walk me through and explain to me why those things weren't okay. There was something that happened at home one time. I cannot remember exactly what it was because it was so long ago. But I remember being very, very, very upset. And I knew that I was supposed to be crying because I had seen other people upset. But I just quite couldn't get there. So in my head at the time, I would see my best friend cry. So I ripped off a necklace from her neck that her grandmother had given her. And she started screaming and crying. And I was like, okay, so that's what upset is supposed to be. Why don't I get like that? She broke off the friendship with me, obviously. And I couldn't understand why, because in my head, the locket was fine. You just replaced the gold chain. But, telling my therapist stories like these and having her explain to me why that wasn't okay kind of led me to, hey, something's a little different, and she eventually diagnosed me at about 18, which I think I was very fortunate for because I was forced into therapy from a younger age because my father molested me. And then after that point, I was in therapy. So you looked a little like, what? From that point, I was in therapy, and I was in therapy all the way up until about 18, 19. So she was able to diagnose me fairly quickly at about 18. She'd been seeing me for a long time. So
do you find that the therapy helped?
absolutely. Yeah. I think there's a misconception that people with ASPD can't be helped. But that's definitely not true. If they're high functioning, low functioning individuals, maybe not so much. But, we do actually have the ability to understand that there is something different about us. We do not want to be that way a lot of the time. And so if you can recognize that, therapy is helpful. She was able to tell me why people were reacting the way that they were and how I could maybe manage that a little bit better.
You aren't comfortable with the term sociopath and believe it's insensitive and stigmatising label. Can you say a bit about that?
I do. I do. Because most of the time when people say the word sociopath, media has portrayed it to be evil person, evil manipulative person. Stay away. They're out to hurt you. Don't go to sleep. They're going to be standing over your bed with a knife. There's a difference between sociopath and psychopath, and a lot of the times people get those two confused. They are very similar, that's true. But while I can be very manipulative, and while I can lie, and while I don't feel much to any remorse or guilt, while I do struggle with empathy, I'm not a dangerous person. And so the scientific communities, the psychology community, whatever you want to call it, did away with the word because it began being used as my boyfriend cheated on me. He's a sociopath. My boyfriend called me a name. It just began being a word that was thrown around, and it started confusing a lot of people. And so they just kind of did away with it. It's not even a scientific term at this point. And so when you say that word, a lot of people picture that their minds just completely closed down. And you do need to be careful around people who have ASPD. You need to watch them and see how they're reacting to situations, But that doesn't mean that every single person with ASPD is bad. And it doesn't mean that they're just out to hurt you. I have plenty of people in my life that I love and I care about and I would never hurt. And through therapy and life experience, I've been able to learn how to act in the world to keep and maintain those relationships. So when you use it, it makes it where, it just perpetuates a stigma that's not even true. And so I try not to use that if at all possible.
The stereotype is that people with ASPD engage in violent or criminal behaviour. Has that been the case for you?
Yes. But when I was much younger, I found the older I got and the more mature I got, the less I did things like that. You just kind of get to a point where you're too old for this shit, you know. But when I was younger, I did steal, and I did have conduct disorder. Is the one that you get before ASPD. I snuck out at night and I stole things. I almost landed in juvie at one point for my behavior. I didn't, but I almost did. I've never attacked anyone, just like viciously attacked them. I can get so angry that like I'll literally begin to like vibrate because there's just so much energy pent up in my body, but I've never willingly physically attacked someone. I've only ever been in 2 fights. The first one that I was in was defending my best friend at the time. There was a guy that she had continually asked him not to touch her. And I walked up on her almost in tears. You can guess where he was touching. And she was begging him to stop, and he wasn't stopping. So I beat the shit out of him. He never touched her again. The second one, I was in a treatment facility, and it was right before I started going into foster homes. And they needed to make sure that they put me in the right one. So I was in a treatment facility, and a girl had written in her notebook that she was going to kill someone. So I took it up to the staff. For some reason, the staff told her. And I was sitting in the gym, and she started storming up to me. and she had been messing with me and messing with me for months, and I had held my tongue and stayed back for months. I stood up because I could see where this was going. She pushed me, I pushed her, she hit me, and I don't know what happened after that. All I remember is coming to, almost like I blacked out, and it took two adults and another patient to get me off of her, and she was on the floor in a ball with her ear bleeding. I don't know what happened, but I snapped, I guess. But those are the only two instances of violence. I
I think we collectively as a society, if we see a guy touching a girl inappropriately and someone beats the shit out of that guy, I think we can all agree that it was okay. You get a pass for that.
Thank
Like
you.
that's all right. I got your back. And
Awesome.
you said earlier about manipulating people at one
Mm,
point in your life, and can you delve into that a little bit for us?
Um, it really just depended on like my age. You know, when I was a teenager, it could be anything from, you know, I want something specific that they have. If I can make friends with them, I can get that thing. Um, I, I'm trying to think of different examples. Um,
We can circle back to it if you'd like.
it's just there's been so much,
Yeah, of course.
and so it was also a long time ago. Like I said, you know, as I got older, I can still be just as manipulative, but people tend to pick up on that eventually. And when you value friendships with people, you kind of. So I've trained myself. I still struggle with it and want to do it every now and again, but for the most part, I do not. I've found healthy outlets for it. Um, but I mean, it could be anything from like, you know, I would make friends with somebody that always brought money to school and I didn't have any money. And so I would make friends with them even though I didn't really care for them. I would make friends with them so that they would buy me snacks at you know recess or whatever. Um as I got older, you know, it would be like with boyfriends and friends. Like if I did something wrong, here we go. I've got it now. If I did something wrong, very very easy to get my way out of it and like turn it around back on them and have them be the ones apologizing to me. But, you know, as I said, as you get older, you kind of want to slow down a little bit in life and kind of get settled in and form a life. Because I don't want to be 60 years old with nobody surrounding me, you know. Um, and I don't speak for all people with ASPD. I've met different people that want to be left alone, and then I've met people that want the family life. You know, I'm on the side of, you know, I didn't have a family, so I would like one. Um, so I try my best not to do that. I struggle with it sometimes. If I see somebody hurting someone I love and care about, or somebody trying to hurt me, I'll be like, nope, nope. And it can be a struggle and I'll catch myself, but I've also formed healthy outlets in which to still be able to do that, um, yet nobody gets hurt and they actually enjoy it. I practice a lot of BDSM, and yeah, I I practice.
This is sorry. So this seems to be a common theme with ASPD, and I'm not grouping everyone into the same box. I swear I'm not, honestly. But 100% of the people that I've spoke to with ASPD, which is two people. Um, so how does what's the correlation between ASPD and
Mm.
BDSM?
Well, I'll be a little bit honest with you. I don't know where I would be without BDSM. It was able to establish me some morals. The BDSM community is very, very moral based. But I think that in the BDSM community, you know, there are people that want to be treated a certain way. And so those people with a ASPD that do participate in BDSM, and again, I don't speak for all of us, they are able to get the outlet for their impulses and do the things that they want to do, and that allows them to not feel the desire to do them quite so much in their everyday life. So like I can have a submissive in front of me and manipulate the crap out of him and then have him go, whoa, I just did, how do you get me to do that? But he likes it.
Oh,
So and then I do have some sadism, that like fetishes that I like, and it allows me to exert that energy on somebody that enjoys it, and I know that they're enjoying it.
can I ask what fetishes? Am I right to ask that?
Yeah. I, I'm an open book. I told you guys that before. Um, I'm very much into financial domination. I love that. That's like a big power trip.
Can you just explain what that is?
Financial domination. A lot of people in that do financial domination don't even understand what it is. It can be literally be anything from control of finances. So you need to ask me before you buy something, or it can be everything that is yours belongs to me because I own you. So I want this and I'm going to take it. But they like it. They want that too. So it becomes at that point it's mutually beneficial. Nobody's getting hurt. If anything, both people are being pleased. And so that works. Other fetishes that I have, CBT, which is cock and ball torture.
Okay.
I like sissification, which is emasculating men, putting them in dresses. Um,
Oh, okay, okay.
I like there's not much I don't like. That's the problem. I like water sports. Um,
That's that's not swimming, is it?
nope.
That's okay, yeah, I know exactly what that is. Okay. Um anything else?
um, Cuckolding.
I know that one. I
I
think I know.
like I like cuckolding. There is something very powerful feeling about having a man knowing that that man wants you and wants you so badly he's watching you with another guy. Like
So so
that's really.
do you have a partner that you, because you said about wanting the family thing, so do you have a partner that sort of engages in this stuff with you, or is this?
Yes.
Oh, you do.
I have to have a partner that is willing to engage. I can't have one that isn't. Um, and he's a great guy. We are long distance at the moment, but that will be, we are working towards changing that. But, I listen to his limits. He very much trusts me, which, is a good thing. Um,
With cock and ball torture, you kind of need a mutual trust, I would imagine. Uh,
Actually, he and I haven't done quite so much with that because he is slightly less experienced than I am. So I'm kind to try to ease him into everything a little bit slowly.
how do you ease someone into cock and ball torture? That's not a question I've ever asked in my life. So,
Well, I'm not going to tell you how I'm doing it with him necessarily.
of course.
That's his personal stuff too. But I keep many subs. I'm not sexual with all of my subs. I'm only sexual with my boyfriend. I have to separate those two. Um, Nothing that he is not okay with will I ever do. I have to watch myself very closely. But I do have other subs. And the way that I have done that in the past is you start off with chastity, if the sub is comfortable with that, which I'm sure you know what that is.
Yeah.
And then um you might elevate it to a little bit of bondage. And then from there you might start casually experimenting with ball busting. Add a
Is
little
that
bit of,
is that exactly what it sounds like?
well, it sounds, it can go to some crazy extremes, but it doesn't have to.
My brain went to an aggressive ping pong game. Is that kind of where you're the sort of
I'll put it like this. There are actual toys that you can buy that are shaped like this, and you slide it underneath, and there's a hole, and then and then you can step on, and it will literally squish out the.
I'm made of questions right now.
Go ahead, I'll answer
My,
anything.
I think my biggest one is who come up with that, really? Whose
I
idea? Who was laying in bed and was like, I've got it. I've got it. Like, that's okay. And, like, now, obviously, there's got to be pre-discussion, but you don't just
Yes,
show that to a man and go, you're in this, you're wearing this tonight. You discuss and say, can I
right.
put your balls in a mousetrap? And
There
essentially,
there is negotiation. Like I said, I play with a lot of subs. Um, I play with many. Actually, this is what I do for work. So usually I'll sit them down and I'll say, okay, so what kind of stuff do you think you might be interested in? What do you know you're interested in? Let's talk about those. Okay, what's your limits? Okay, so we have your kinks and your fetishes, and now we have your limits. Okay, so I know I won't do anything this. What's a soft limit? What's a hard limit? Okay, so these are your soft limits. You might want to explore them. Got it. Those we might try. I'll ease you into it. Over here, we have the things that you like. Have you ever thought about this? Okay, no, not comfortable with that. All right. Sometimes they need to ask you a few more questions. You just have a healthy, honest discussion about what it is that both of you want, and either the sub is a good fit for you or they're not. It's that simple.
and how did you enter that as a profession?
Um, I had heard about it from a friend. I had been doing BDSM for years before. And somebody was like, you might want to try this. And I kind of was like, I don't know. That kind of ruins the whole point of it, doesn't it? Um, but I started doing some research into it and I started talking to submissives that were into it. And the more I talked to them, the more I realized that they it's almost like they gift and give this money as a form of adoration. Like they want to benefit your life. They want to. And so the best way to do that is to make your life easier. And so that makes them feel special and important. And so they do that, which then makes me feel special and important and makes me want to play with them. So it's kind of like a circle. And even in terms of finances, I'll sit down with a sub and I'll be like, okay, let's look at your finances. What do you got at the end of every month after you pay your bills? Okay, well, this you're going to put into savings. This you're going to give to me. This is going to be, da 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 da. Not every sub is comfortable with that level. A lot of subs like it. Some subs I just set up. This is what I expect every week. Some subs just want to come by and give a gift and have a little bit of play and then go on their merry way for a while. It honestly just depends.
The first time that you spoke to someone about their account and you were like, this is what's this, and the rest is going to be left up to me. What was the emotional reaction to that? Like, because it's such a unique experience when you really think about it. Like, people aren't letting me use their bank account.
Um, I've never had access to a sub's actual bank account. Usually it's done on some type of like document where they write their income out for the month, each bill, and then I get to see the total. And, they have their extra spending money. They ask before they spend it. But the very first person that I ever tried that kind of far with, just the response was, yes, miss. So they they do like it. In fact, I had one sub that liked it so much that he wasn't happy with how much that he could give me. And so he actually went and started donating plasma and then would give me the money that he got from donating plasma. And I was fine with that.
What's plasma?
So plasma is something that is in your blood. You guys have plasma donations over in the UK too, but over here in the US, you get paid for it. So they put a needle in your arm and they pull the blood out. They remove the plasma from it and then put the blood back in.
Oh, wow.
And then, and that was very extra. I loved it. I'm not going to lie to you. I loved it. But I didn't ever feel like it was too extreme because it also, that plasma is used for cancer medications that otherwise cannot be made. So
what's the most extreme fetish that you have come across or experienced yourself?
Are you asking me what's the most extreme thing I've ever done?
Yes.
Okay. I had a guy that was very much into CBT. Very much. And I kept upping it, and he kept telling more, more, more. The Aspd in me kicked in. And I was like, all right. He had brought his own toys.
Oh,
And
the
no,
Pac-Man.
no,
No.
no, no, no. This is going to make you cringe, okay?
Okay, yeah, bring it on.
He had brought his own toys, and in them was nails and a hammer.
Okay.
So I sterilized everything and nailed his to a chair.
What kind of chair? I have
It's
to
a
ask.
wooden chair, just a normal wooden chair.
Because you don't want to ruin the cushion on a good chair, do you? You gotta, you know.
I like you.
Thanks. That's nice to hear. Because the comment section aren't going to be, they're not going to be as polite. They're like, he's asking the wrong questions. What kind of chair? I have to ask. I have to ask.
I'm sure we'll get to all the juicier questions too.
Yeah, actually, to be honest, we haven't reached question 7 yet. Shall we do that one?
Sure.
And then we can get back to. So you're a mother and appear to display a lot of empathy towards your child. Are there other people in your life that this is also the case for?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that question?
So you show a lot of empathy towards your child. You have that. Are there other, and we've spoken in part, so there are friends and family that you also feel empathy for?
Ooh. I do feel empathy for my daughter, but I do struggle with it also. She has autism, and it's a little hard for me to sometimes understand what she's going through because I do have cognitive empathy, which means if I know what the situation is like, I can understand that it sucks. I've never been through any types of the sensory issues that she has. And so sometimes I don't quite understand, but I'm working on it and I'm getting better at it. And she does have treatments and things that help her that they don't know about my diagnosis, but they do kind of help explain it because I think no parent would understand. I don't think any parent would understand because unless you've been through it, you can't. As for friends and family, I keep a very, very small circle. I don't trust people, which was a big issue when I was younger because it was me get them before they get me, which I've been through a lot to get to that point, and I've spoken with a lot of other people who have ASPD that they don't trust easy either. So I have my adoptive family who I feel very close to and who I love. They all know about my diagnosis, so I don't have to hide so much from them. So, like, if there's something wrong with my mom and she's upset, I can just kind of go, oh, I'm sorry to hear that, and rub her arm a little bit, and that's all she needs. And she knows that she can talk to me, and I'll just kind of be, I'm not going to get upset with her for being upset, and she can just kind of vent to me. But I still don't necessarily feel like you would feel if you saw your mother upset. I assume it would make you upset. I don't get that. It's just kind of, it is what it is, and she's my mom, and I'm just gonna let her talk, and then I'll interject and try my best not to come off as insensitive. My sister-in-law knows as well. My mother had to have a talk with her, because I I apparently was supposed to be more empathetic towards a situation that she was having, and I didn't understand that it was a big situation. And I said something insensitive. I don't even know what it was, but it's apparently happened a couple of times. And my mom just kind of pulled her to the side and was like, look, she's blunt, she's honest. Okay. She's not being ugly. This is just who she is. So just take it in stride. I have to do it too. She's not trying to hurt your feelings. She doesn't even realize that she is. So, my boyfriend, I do very much love as well. Empathy is hard with that one too, though.
Yeah, I feel like, I understand. It'd be really awkward for him if you're watching this and you're like, no, I don't give a shit. I just like nailing stuff. Do you think the lack of trust is down to the ASPD, or is that growing up in a rough environment? Because sometimes when you grow up in that environment and it's dog eat dog, really, isn't it? It's, is this person going to get me first? You develop these animal instincts. Sometimes that's just a product of the environment, or do you reckon that is because of the condition, or maybe a blending of both?
Well, it's funny you say that, because different people, even in psychology, believe different reasons as to what causes ASPD. But a lot of people think that it is, and like you're born with a certain gene that can be triggered by the wrong environment. So I would say a little bit of both, actually. I would say a little bit of both. It probably didn't help any that when I went to try and get justice for my father molesting me, the DA at the time asked me why I didn't say no, like a 12-year-old kid say no, and then asked me if I wanted them to kill my father in jail, because that's what they would do. And he got off. All he had to do was sign his rights to me away. And he had 3 years of probation, and that was it. And I think it was that moment that I realized no one gives a shit. You're on your own. You got to take care of yourself, So I think it's a little bit of both, really.
When was the last time that you spoke to your father?
When I was 12.
So it's been. Do you ever wonder where he's at, what he's doing? Do you ever check up on him? No. You obviously, so you're. Yeah, no, I understand that. And how are your friendships and romantic relationships affected by your condition?
And when I was younger, it was really rough. It was really rough. If I got bored for even a second, I would push buttons and play games just to get a reaction out of my partner, just to see what would happen. Just if I do this, I'm curious how they might react. But like I said before, as I got older, you kind of want somebody to, not everybody, but I definitely did. I have only been in love twice, what I would consider in love. I don't know if it's the same thing that you would consider in love. If somebody fucks it up and I can end that love just like that and walk away, no problems. But I did have one relationship where I struggled very hard. He knew about my disorder. I told him. I try to be open with the people I care about. But I really struggled with him. I cheated on him at one point, and he got mad, as you would expect, and was like, "Okay, I'm leaving." And I said, "Okay, bye." And he walked out of the door, and I turned the TV on and started watching TV. I'm not going to beg you to stay with me. If you don't want to be here, if you don't want to work it out, that's not my problem. That's yours. He called me about 10 minutes later and was like, "You didn't even ask me to stay. You didn't even ask me to stay. You didn't even call me to ask me to come back." And I was like, "Well, what was I supposed to do? You said you wanted to go. I'm letting you go." And that apparently is not how it's normally done. I I don't know. So that's kind of when he went, "That's not, oh God." I lied to him a lot. He would tell me not to do something, and then I would go and purposefully do it just to see his reaction. I struggled with it a lot, though I tried not to at the same time. I was with him for 5 years, and he did very much help me through all of that. I will say that. It didn't work out just because we wanted two different things in life, but he did help me get to a point to where I'm actually able to have healthier relationships now. I have a moral and rule of thumb. Before I do anything, I ask my boyfriend if he's okay with it. And he knows that he's got to be completely honest with me, because I cannot pick up on if he's just saying he's okay with it. He has to, honest to God, tell me the truth, because if he says he's okay with it, I'll go do it. And then if he gets upset, I'll be like, "Well, I don't know what you're upset for. You told me I could do it." I also practice honesty, and if I tell him absolutely everything, even the things that I don't think that he would care about. We just had an event the other day where I fucked up. There's an ex of mine that is going through some issues and reached out to me for some support. And my boyfriend doesn't particularly like this ex. And I didn't think anything of it and chatted away with him and then told him the next day. And he was like, "And I'm just now hearing about this?" And I went, "Oh, shit." I was like, "I fucked up, didn't I?" And he goes, "Mm-hmm." And I was like, "I am so sorry. I will tell you from now on." So, I mean, I do struggle with knowing what is okay and what isn't. So if he's not around, I try to stop before I do anything and go, "Okay, if someone did this to me, would I be angry?" If the answer is yes, I back up, and I back up very quickly. If the answer is no, I skeptically go ahead, because chances are I could still be screwing it up. So we just have to have very open and honest communication and very strict rules and guidelines. So.
How has ASPD affected your relationships with your family?
Like I said, they know. They're very supportive. I don't know if my mother has ever done any research on it. I asked her not to, simply because anything that you find in the media, is not going to be good. I read an article one time that if your child is diagnosed with ASPD, run for the hills and abandon them. That's not okay.
No.
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 And so I asked her not to. I told her, I was like, you know me, just learn me. Don't worry about anything that's online. Just learn me. But they seem to do fine with it. My sister-in-law did tell me that she figured it out on her own. I didn't know her that well, so I didn't just forthright come out and tell her. One day we were having a talk about her mental health, and I went to come out about my mental health, and she was like, and I already know. And I was like, what do you mean you already know? She goes, you're a sociopath. And I went, whoa, now hang on. Yes, but no. And then we kind of had that talk, and she just said that there was some certain things that I did and said that she quickly picked up on it. And she said it freaked her out at first. She said she figured it out a few months in by just watching me, and she said it did freak her out at first. Not that she felt like I was a danger to her. But she said that when it started freaking her out, she was just like, was it a problem 2 or 3 months ago? No. Why should it be a problem now? I know her. She's never done anything to hurt me. I trust her. Why should that change it? And I think that's how you should look at any mental health topic. My mother did get upset at one point in time, because we've had some talks here or there. And she met me when I was still quite young, when I was still struggling with impulse control and things like that. She asked me if I considered myself her daughter and was wanting her to adopt me so that I could use her. And I told her, I said, Mom, I'm not going to lie to you. When I first met you, yes. But that's not the case anymore, because you showed me that you wanted to be my mom, and I never had a mom. And so you earned that spot, and I will be here by your side. I will protect you and stand here with you for whatever you need. So she felt a lot better, I think, after that.
It's good that you were able to be so open and build relationships that way, because a lot of the time communication's left by the wayside, really. And I feel like the way you've navigated this incredible minefield, and it's great to see that you've been able to do that. What about employment? Does it make it hard to hold down a job? I know you've got your current employment.
I'm self-employed at the moment, yeah.
Yeah, but in the past, how was that sort of?
I have held down jobs before. I worked as a waitress when I was younger for 2 years, but I've been doing the work that I'm currently doing for a good 6 or 7. I do struggle very much with boredom, and my work helps me stay from being bored. But I do run into, I can get a little bit bored with not having a client or a sub at the moment, and then get distracted and have issues getting myself back into, or if my mood is not there, I can have a lot of issues. So like if I'm feeling depressed or just kind of empty, or just, because most of the time my emotions are like a very even filled with little, rivets in them. And I can control them really well. It's almost like a light switch, if you were. But I can get where I just feel like, what's the point? It doesn't happen often, but I can struggle with work then. I did struggle once I turned 18 and was on my own. I did struggle with things like getting to school on time. I would miss a lot of days. But I also understood consequences as an adult. And if you don't go to work, you don't get paid. And if you don't get paid, you don't have a place to sleep. And that doesn't sound very fun. Because ASPD is also a self-preservation type thing. So I do try to think about what's in my best interest.
You sought help from a therapist. What motivated you to do that?
I didn't have a choice. I was a child.
Okay.
I'm glad that it did. Um, I came out finally to my biological mother about my father molesting me. And Child Protective Services got involved, as they would, and they required that she sign me up for therapy. So um, I went to therapy for a few years there, and then I ended up having to stop seeing that therapist when I got put into foster care, which I got put into foster care at about 13, 12, 13. Yeah, something like that. And then I had a new, because I had been seeing a therapist, and because of all the trauma I had went through, they required me to see another therapist, and I saw that therapist from about age 14 until 18, so about 4 years.
So you don't see a therapist anymore?
Not currently.
Is that something that you would consider going back to, not for just to sort of be able to discuss openly with someone, or is that something that you're not set
Yeah,
on?
yes and no. I don't have to, in my day-to-day life, I don't have to so much wear a mask, as they say, as I think a lot of people do. But I do have times where I have to. I don't have a choice because I don't want to upset the people around me, and if I don't, they're going to get upset. Um, so it was really nice having a therapist where I didn't have to wear one at all, and I could say exactly how I was feeling. However, going to a new therapist scares me because I was with that one for 4 years, and some therapists won't even see you after they figure out that you have ASPD. And if I walked into a therapist's office and said, "Hey, I have ASPD, I'd like to get some therapy," they're going to have one of two reactions in my experience: you're full of it, or we can't help you. So that kind of makes me nervous about
Why won't they see you?
um a lot of people think that ASPD can't be helped by therapy, and they just, we just go to therapy to learn how to better manipulate others. And that's not true. If we're going to a therapist, we're going there because we want help and we want somebody to talk to. We
So
can recognize that something's wrong.
now, some claim that therapy isn't useful for people with ASPD. Would you?
There you
What
go.
would? Where do you stand on that side?
um I think it's very helpful. I had therapy for a long time, and I was able to go into adult lifehood much better equipped to handle social situations. I probably could have used more therapy, but I did learn from my own life experiences too. But without that therapy, it might have been impossible.
Yeah. Do you think that most people in your everyday life are aware of the fact that you've got ASPD?
Um, Friends, family, boyfriend, yes. The people that I work with, like my clients and my submissives, no. Though I have had a sub or two call me out. That has happened. Um, but they seemed to like it more than anything. So,
Yeah, I can understand that. It might sort of ease the thought for them to be like, oh well, she can, you can handle your own, and you can sort of, I don't know. It's a unique skill, not skill set's probably the wrong word,
yes.
but you're coming from a different area, and maybe for some people that's more interesting, I suppose. I don't know if again that's the right term.
Yes and no. It does make you unique, but I think everybody is unique in their own way. Like
one Hundred percent.
I don't want to glamorize ASPD. It's not a fun thing. It can ruin your entire life. Like a lot of us end up homeless on the side of the road because we don't even know that we have it. Um, But a lot of those subs that enjoyed it very, very much liked that I was doing the things that I was doing to them, and I wouldn't feel bad about it later. Or if they had a fetish of being ignored or actually being treated like crap within a scene, I could just completely do that, as where other DOMs would feel like they couldn't. So.
And how do people usually react when you tell them your diagnosis?
I only tell people that I feel like deserve to know, which is the people I care about. And in my experience, this isn't going to match everyone's, but I've never had anyone freak out on me. Most people are like, okay, cool. Well, it doesn't change who you are. I trust you. Um, and they stand by me. And I think for them, knowing that I've came out and told them on my own makes them feel safer and better because they know that I'm trying to, be honest.
Do you think that having ASPD is a disability or just a different way of being? And would you say that it negatively impacts your life?
Oh, a disability. I think so.
Yeah.
I think so. Yeah. I think so because it does affect your ability. Like a lot of people with ASPD struggle with responsibility. I sure as hell have and do. I don't with my daughter because she's the most important thing in my life and she will always be taken care of. She is my life. But there are other things that I have struggled with responsibility. And, I've been at one point when I was much younger, I was evicted. I had my heat cut off because I was like, I'll pay that bill later. It's too much of a struggle right now, So that kind of stuff can lead people into a life that is not fun and it's hard to recover from. So yeah, I would definitely say it's a disability. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. The conventional stance on ASPD is that it's incurable and nothing can be done to lessen it. Would you say that's actually true? Because I understand the question, but you seem to, like we said before, you've navigated a minefield. You've come out, and you're handling your own.
Yeah.
And you're raising a daughter, and so do you think it's specific to the person? Maybe.
I do think I do. I do. I don't think it's curable. I think it's something that you will struggle with for the rest of your life, but I do think that you can get to a point where it's manageable. Like I said, I still I still struggle. If somebody hurts me, um, I'll give you an example if you like.
Yeah.
Okay. So, do you remember the ex that I was talking about that my boyfriend got upset with me for talking over?
Yeah.
I had to get onto him for this because I was like, you cannot encourage my ASPD because he faltered and he thought maybe for a minute. Um, he really hurt my daughter. I was with him for almost 3 years, and they were very close.
Right.
And he went through a depressive episode and ghosted us. Completely gone. And I had to listen to my autistic child ask me why he didn't love her anymore. And well, he'll want to talk to me, Mama. He'll want to call him. And he came back recently to apologize. And he said some things that made me mad. And I caught myself because I was starting to try to assure him that it was okay. And I drew back because my natural instinct was, let's see how it feels for you, buddy. And I wasn't going to, I stopped myself. But my natural instinct was to reassure him. Yeah, you can come back. Sure, let's play some video games. Let's hang out. Let's let's cuddle, and then once he was in a nice, good, secure spot, poof, So that was my first natural because he's very jealous of my boyfriend, very, very, very jealous of him. And then as soon as he got secure, I was going to be like, well, that's too bad, I'm with Robert, and then leave. So I mean,
The problem with people that don't understand, especially something like autism, which you a child with autism, if you just ghost,
yeah,
that's not it's almost an impossibility. It's yeah, that
she was broken.
yeah, 100%.
She was broken, and I will admit, seeing her like that triggered it, and I almost faltered, and my boyfriend was like, do it.
Yeah.
And I was like, whoa, okay, listen, you cannot encourage me, because if I do it, I don't know if I can stop myself next time. You do not need to encourage this and get this restarted. I was like, this is serious. And then I told him, I said, do you really want me going off and cuddling with him and making him feel like we're back together? And he was like, okay, you're right. Don't do it.
Yeah.
So,
Given the reduced capacity for empathy or guilt is a symptom of ASPD, what do you derive from your ethics? What morals do you live your life by?
I try not to hurt anyone needlessly. I try not to put negative energy out into the world. If I can help someone, I try to. I'm gonna be honest with you, I don't often care to. But there are certain topics, like around domestic violence or autism, for example, that'll get me every time. Or like children with sexual abuse and things like that. So honestly, I really just try to be good and not hurt anyone, and be a positive force in people's lives rather than a negative one. So
Why do you think that some people with ASPD are able to function within society and some people not so much? What do you think is the difference between a functional and non-functional ASPD sufferer?
well, I know a lot of low functioning people, in my experience, aren't able to fully control their impulses, and they end up in jail and things like that. I honestly, I'm not entirely sure what causes the difference in functionality. I think maybe it boils down to a personality type, perhaps. Because with me, I never enjoyed playing the victim. And so in order for me to grow as a person, I was not going to let my past, I wasn't going to let my biological parents win and completely ruin my life. And I think some people get so far wrapped up into what has happened to them that they let it just destroy them. And when you don't care anymore, I think it's really hard for those impulses to be controlled.
Yeah.
And I think some people just give up, and it's hard not to. I very much could have went that way.
Yeah.
But
What do you think the biggest misconceptions are about people with ASPD?
we kind of already went over a lot of them, that we're unable to be helped, and we're murderers and super violent, and we're just there to lie to you and manipulate you and take everything we can get from you and then leave. That is true for some people. Like I said earlier, some people very much like that. And you do need to be careful. Like I said, watch, evaluate, don't. But if a friend of yours that you've known for 4 years comes out and tells you this, it's not needed for you to, So I think that that's probably one of the biggest misconceptions, is that, all of us are like that. All of us are evil people, and that's just not true.
Yeah. And finally, what advice would you give to other people out there who are struggling with ASPD?
I would say, I know pride is a big thing, but it's worth it to try to get some help and some therapy. I know that your brain will tell you that it's not going to help anything, but it totally will. And if you're already at the end of your rope, what does it hurt to try? What do you really have to lose?
Absolutely.
So.
Thank you so much for taking the time to chat with us. It's been, I don't know if it's been, it has been a pleasure, but I don't want to say that and sound strange. But no, genuinely, thank you. I mean, from where you've started to where you are now, are you happy?
Sometimes.
Sometimes, and that's okay. That's okay. It's okay to not be
I
all the time.
Yeah.
You know.
I do feel happiness. It's dumbed down. I don't feel overwhelming joy like I see other people experiencing, but for the most part I'm pretty neutral, and I'm just, you know, like, I'm all smiley and chipper and wee, and but that's also not how I normally am. You know,
Yeah.
that's how I am with people that I'm just getting to meet, and it's the likable personality. And then once I get to know you all, calm down a little bit and you'll get a little bit more me. And but happy some of the time.
No, I'm glad. It's good to hear. And thank you to everyone else that's watched. I really appreciate it. Make sure that you like, comment, subscribe. If you hit the bell, you can get notified for all the videos. And if you jump to the comments, just take a second. Just take a second before you write. Be nice to everyone else, because there's nothing more important than that. Thank you so much. And Lisa, thank you. I really appreciate it.